Wang Yi is traveling to Moscow right now. We just learned from the Russian news agency TASS that he is due to arrive about Tuesday afternoon local time. Last week, the Ministry of Foreign Affairs said that this visit would be an opportunity for both sides to exchange views about the relationship, also an opportunity to discuss international hotspot issues, which is code for the war in Ukraine. On Monday, we heard from Wang Yi. He spoke in Budapest. He said that China is willing to work with other nations to achieve a lasting peace in Ukraine. We also heard from the Kremlin, a spokesman saying that he does not rule out a meeting between Wang Yi and the Russian President Vladimir Putin. Now, this visit to Moscow comes at a time of deepening diplomatic tension between China and the United States over the Chinese balloon and over Russia's war in Ukraine. Just last weekend, the U.S. Secretary of State Antony Blinken warned Wang Yi of consequences if China was to provide material support to Russia, and China has fired back. Now, on Monday, let's bring up the statement for you. This is what we heard from the MOFA spokesman saying this, quote, "The U.S. is in no position to tell China what to do. We would never stand for finger pointing or even coercion and pressurizing from the U.S. on our relations with Russia," unquote. But since the Russian invasion in Ukraine, look, both Russia and China have been edging closer together on multiple fronts, politically and economically. Look, China continues to buy Russian energy, softening the impact of Western sanctions, and China continues to parrot Kremlin talking points, including refusing to condemn the Russian invasion of Ukraine. So when Wang Yi sits down in Moscow with Russian officials, expect to see another demonstration of this no-limits partnership between Russia and China. John.
If these accusations are true and China is considering, or actually is giving material support to Russia, there are implications here which go way beyond China if there is, in fact, retaliation from the United States and from the EU and NATO.
Yeah, it would represent a significant escalation, not only in terms of China's involvement with Russia during this time of conflict in Ukraine, but also could open up a new phase in the conflict itself. We heard that dire warning from the Ukrainian President Zelensky, who said that any sort of significant backing of Russia by China could open up World War III. But we have heard from a senior Chinese diplomatic official that China does not want to see an escalation in the conflict. It does not want to see it spiral out of control. And also looking at China's behavior, China has been carefully managing its actions so as not to trigger secondary sanctions for any real material involvement or assistance to Russia. This is not something that China wants to deal with right now, especially at this moment. Its economy is still teetering after 3 years of its zero COVID policy. John.